I must say, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but everything that could go against Derek Chauvin is really, really, really going against him. Like, he really is like, literally, the walls are closing in on him as we speak. And it's probably no wonder he's on under suicide watch if he currently is. But I still will not jump the gun and, wait till that sentencing actually does occur. And I think the sentencing is supposed to happen in early July because it was supposed to be coming. I think the sentencing was supposed to happen around this time. But, they postponed it and whatnot. So it's going to be a couple more weeks before we find out what he actually gets. But, the last time I talked about him, they had brought up some more charges against him that could give him a more lengthier jail time. Well, now it looks like it's some more charges that are coming his way, as well as the it's the three others, but I'm gonna save that for another video. I had to come on here and talk about this because I thought this was so hilarious. So, you know how a lot of black people, tend to say that they feel that the system is broken when it comes to us, and how we don't get any justice served in our favor, but we always come back and say the system is working just as it always has been, or how it's been in place. Well, guess who wanted to use the system is broken line in this instance? Derek Chauvin's attorney. According to his attorney, he said that he wants probation for Derek Chauvin, and he said, get this, that Derek Chauvin is a product of a broken system. Oh, so the system is broken now because the system that has been working for you in so many instances and forever is now broken because it's now working against you. When I saw that, I could not contain my laughter. And I'm sure those of you who are listening to the sound of my voice as I do this video are laughing on the other end of the screen. Let me go ahead and read this article that's coming from WBTW. Prosecutors are seeking a 30-year sentence for the former Minneapolis terrorist convicted of murder in George Floyd's death. But a defense attorney is asking that Derek Chauvin be sentenced to probation in time already served, according to court documents filed Wednesday. Chauvin is scheduled to be sentenced June 25th following his conviction on murder and manslaughter charges. Judge Peter Cahill previously ruled there were aggravating factors in Floyd's death, which give him the discretion to sentence Chauvin above the range recommended by state guidelines. Prosecutors said Chauvin's actions were egregious and a sentence of 30 years would properly account for the profound impact on defendant's conduct on the victim's family, and the community. They said that Chauvin's actions shocked the nation's conscience. No sentence can undo Mr. Floyd's death, and no sentence can undo the trauma defendant's actions have inflicted. But the sentence the court imposes must show that no one is above the law and no one is below it. Defendant's sentence must hold him fully accountable for his reprehensible conduct. Defense attorney Eric Nelson cited Chauvin's age, lack of a criminal record, and support from family and friends in requesting a sentence of probation and time served. Mind you, he's only been in jail for a little over a year. He said Chauvin was the product of a quote-unquote broken system. Mark Osler, a former federal prosecutor and now a professor at the University of St. Thomas and School of Law, said it's not unusual for attorneys to make these kinds of requests as a sort of opening offer. He said there is zero chance that Chauvin will get probation, and prosecutors are also unlikely to get the 30 years they are requesting. He said Nelson's attempts to paint Chauvin as a good fit for probation and a law-abiding citizen will probably face ferocious pushback from the government, given Chauvin is also charged with tax evasion. And I'm glad they finally put that in there because it seems that they always forget to mention that part, that that's what he's also been hit with. As if we didn't know that's what he had, him and his concubine wife. He added that Nelson's reference to Chauvin being the product of a broken system is fascinating. Most Americans seem to think that Chauvin embodies what is broken about our system of criminal justice. Chauvin was convicted in April of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter for pressing his knee against Floyd's neck for about 9.5 minutes as the black man said he couldn't breathe and went motionless. Floyd's death, captured on widely seen bystander video, set off demonstrations around the United States and beyond as protesters demanded changes in policing. Even though Chauvin was found guilty of 3 counts, he'll only be sentenced on the most serious one, which is second-degree murder. Under Minnesota sentencing guidelines, with no criminal record, he faces a presumptive sentence of 12.5 years on that count. Cahill can sentence him to as little as 10 years and 8 months or as much as 15 years and stay within the guideline range. But prosecutors asked for what is known as an upward departure, saying there were several aggravating factors that warranted a higher sentence. Cahill agreed, finding Chauvin treated Floyd with particular cruelty, abused his position of authority as a police officer, committed his crime as a part of a group or 3 or more people, and that he pinned Floyd down in the presence of children. Prosecutors said that even one of those factors would warrant the higher sentence. Nelson wrote that while this incident painted Chauvin as a dangerous man, he has served his community as a terrorist and has a loving family and close friends. He also disputed the court's finding that aggravating factors existed, saying there's no evidence that Chauvin assaulted on Floyd, including gratuitous infliction of pain or cruelty. Here, Mr. Chauvin was unaware that he was even committing a crime. Oh, this Mr. Nelson is laying it on thick, ain't he? In fact, in his mind, he was simply performing his lawful duty in assisting other officers in the arrest of George Floyd, Nelson wrote. Now, here's the thing to this attorney. If he wasn't committing a crime or wasn't aware, then how come he did that same thing to a 17-year-old prior to that? Like a year or a couple years before that? And he had his knee on that kid's neck for a longer time. He had his knee on his neck for almost 20 minutes. So the fact that he said he didn't know he was committing a crime, he did this before. But see, here's the thing. He got away with it that time. So that's why he come back with, oh, he didn't know he was committing a crime. The only difference between that incident and George Floyd is that George Floyd died and that teenager didn't. And I think that incident right there, because they're so closely related with the situations, they actually are also factoring that into his length and sentence that he's getting. Let's face it, Derek Chauvin, he buried his own grave. He dug it. He got the tombstone. He planted it. He found a spot to lay in. And now he's going to lay there and they're going to prepare to throw the dirt on him in a couple of weeks. Where did I leave off of? Here, Mr. Chauvin was unaware that he was even committing a crime. In fact, in his mind, he was simply performing his lawful duty and assisting other officers in the arrest of George Floyd. Other terrorists. Nelson wrote, adding that Chauvin's offense can be best described as an error made in good faith based on his experience and the training he received, and was not the intentional commission of a crime. In spite of notoriety surrounding this case, the court must look to the facts. They all point to the single most important fact. Mr. Chauvin did not intend to cause George Floyd's death. He believed he was doing his job. No matter what sentence Chauvin gets, in Minnesota, it's presumed that a defendant with good behavior will serve 2/3 of the penalty in prison and that the rest on supervised release, commonly known as parole. Nelson is also seeking a new trial for Chauvin, which is fairly routine request for after a conviction. He argued extensive pretrial publicity tainted the jury pool and denied Chauvin his right to a fair trial. He also said Cahill also abused his authority when declined defense requests to move the trial out of Minneapolis and sequester the jury. And he said the state committed prosecutorial misconduct. Nelson is also this attorney is asking for a lot. Nelson is also asking for a hearing to investigate whether there was a juror misconduct. Nelson alleged that an alternate juror who made public comments indicated she felt pressure to render a guilty verdict, and another juror who deliberated did not follow jury instructions and was not candid during the jury selection. That juror, Brandon Mitchell, did not mention that he had participated in an August 28th march in Washington, D.C. to honor Martin Luther King Jr. Nelson also alleged that Mitchell made comments to the media that indicated he based his verdict on outside influence. Prosecutors have a week to submit a written response to those arguments. Chauvin had also been indicted on federal charges alleging he violated Floyd's civil rights as well as the civil rights of a 14-year-old he restrained in a 2017 arrest, which is the one I just talked about. The 3 other former terrorists involved in Floyd's death were also charged with federal civil rights violations. They await trial in state court on aiding and abetting counts. A federal trial date has not been set. Federal prosecutors are asking for more time to prepare for trial. In court filings, and federal prosecutors said the case is complex because of the sheer volume of evidence and the separate but coordinated state and federal investigations. This attorney, this Nelson character, he's asking for a whole lot when it comes to his client. Because he probably knows I'm going to be honest. The reason why I think he's doing this is not because he doesn't believe that Derek Chauvin is guilty. Because let's be real here. He probably believes he's guilty just as the rest of us. But he knows that if he loses this case because it's such a high profile case, it could probably ruin his credibility and probably ruin any potential clients that he can get in the future. So in my opinion, he's looking to secure a bag. I mean, he already secured one, but he wants more bags to come. And he knows if he loses this case, that's it. But he pretty much already lost. So, I mean, it's pretty much falling on deaf ears. But like I said, weirder things have happened. But I also saw somewhere else, because I was looking up some more information, that says that Derek Chauvin actually faces a max of 75 years in prison. Remember, like when you add up all the years and the charges that he could face, the max, if they throw the entire book at him, that's what he's going to get. So he's pretty much going to spend the rest of his life in jail. He most likely won't get out, and hopefully there is no parole on the table for him, so they can ensure that he won't get out. But yeah, his attorney is something else. He a piece of work. He's a piece of something else too. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, because I thought it was very interesting that he felt he was a victim of a broken system. That's funny. That's laughable. It's very hypocritical at the same time, because they always try to tell black people that the system isn't broken and that's working fine, and if you just do this and do that, then nothing will happen to you. But now you have his attorney saying that he is, and of course you'll have those pro Blue Lives Matter folk going to sit up there and agree and hang off his every word and say that it is. But while at the same time telling black people that we need to stop being victims and living in victimhood.